Vidamsham vibhum nirmalam nirvikalpam niriham nirakaram omkaragamyam gunadidam avyaktam ekam turiyam param brahmayam veda tasmai namaste. Shri Padmanabha Swami Sharanam Kripadame Gede. Delight and honorable audience on stage, off stage, and outside. I'm happy to associate myself with today's significant function marking the 4th University Day of this esteemed institution, envisaged and brought in by Swamiji, Chinmaya Swamiji, and brought into focus by those who are honored to be his disciples. I have heard with interest the Vice Chancellor, the Honorable Vice Chancellor, talking and was delighted with his play of words. I always am partial to play of words myself. Not that I achieve it, but I like to hear play of words anyway. He was talking about university, and then when he said, shut your eyes and see what comes to your mind, temple. Then he said, Gopuram. The moment he said temple, I saw Padmaswami's Vigraham. Possibly I did not think of Gopuram because there are so many temples which do not have Gopuram. Vimanam, of course. But Gopuram, as many temples do, especially in Kerala, many temples do not have because it's not really a part of Kerala culture, temple culture, maybe because of that. Then the church, of course, when he said about the university, it was a number of images were fighting in my mind to get the first place because you can only present one image. But unfortunately, what came to my mind was all the confusion and the distractions and the disturbances, the samarams and the absolutely indisciplined behavior, which is off and on materializing in the higher stratas of education, formal education. Of course, as far as this university is concerned, such a thing is absolutely unimaginable. And I'm sure it will never, never, never happen. In our concept in India, education, or what we call today university academics, has been very much in the forefront. It is said among the majority of the committee of scholars, it is said that 8 civilizations have been claimed or identified as the most ancient in the world under the sun. They read as Rome and Greece, Mesopotamia and Babylon, Egypt, India, China, and then there's a slight difference in opinion whether it should be Mexico or Africa. Whatever it may be, when we talk of the world civilizations, all hoary with untold years of or spans of time, mighty time behind them, out of the 8, when we talk of 7, we can talk only in past tense. Rome was the cradle of civilization. In Greece, there existed a mighty civilization. China was a proud possessor of an ancient civilization, so on and so forth. But please, ladies and gentlemen, note that the term, the grammar used is past tense. There was, there used to be, there existed. Every rule has an exception. Here also, there is no exception to the rule of exception. And there is only one among the 8 which has survived the transcending march of ages, survived the dust and decay of advancing time to emerge vital, vibrant and alive. No prize for guessing. India, Bharata Bhukanda. How did this happen? For us, we don't have to look far. Everywhere around us, we see it. On one side, you see the homas, the oblations, the chants, age-old Vedic chants. Side by side, you hear the roar of the plains, or perhaps even a little more impact forming. I'm not going to what type of impact. It could be positive, it could be negative. I don't want to go into it then. The rockets roaring into the outer space, tearing the horizon levels. Super productions of modern technology. Many times when man decides to take on the role of God, play the role of God, try to decide destinies not only of nations, but of the human systems. Many times we fail. That's another thing. But anyway, so that this combination of extreme modernism and extreme ancient culture coexist in reasonable goodwill or in reasonable compromise. So much so, the Mahabharata, absolutely, this huge landmass that is India, it is so big that it is often termed as the subcontinent because of its actual physical girth. Despite that, despite the millions and millions of population, people say 1/6 of the population of the world is in India. I don't know whether it is correct or not. But anyway, whatever it may be, despite all this, from east to west, north to south, we still hold up our civilization. It has not retreated into the memory of man. Why? When all the other civilizations have met with this fate, what happens that India, Bharata, Mahabharata has survived? If we look into it, there are perhaps two aspects. One is a somewhat vague or abstract definition of Indianism, which is hopefully running through the warp and woof of the landmass. The other is indeed our ancient culture, our Sanatana Dharma, our Vedas, our Upanishads, our Vedangas, our Puranas, our Idihasas, so on and so forth. They have all survived. Every one of them have survived and continue to play a relevant role. They're not just words written in dusty books to be read perhaps as a university syllabus. Like here, you have a university syllabus where you're teaching many of these things and then just kept away. No, they are very much a part of practical life. The Aikavatya Sukta of the Rig Veda itself is so significant. Also, at the end of every ritual, at the end of every significant Sanatana Dharma happening, event, invariably comes to a conclusion with a very meaningful words. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. And for sukham, it is not material prosperity. You need that also, no doubt. But it is the peace that you need. If there is no inner peace, you may eat off a gold plate. What's the use? It is the inner peace. So there again, with the pranava mantram, Omkaram, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. This is at every twist and turn you find this. That is our civilization. We have a civilization about which we can talk for hours and days and years and not get anywhere near it. We can try and comprise it in very small words, leaving expansions to scholars, like the Sanskrit language itself, where you can go into limitless expansions, or where you can compress it into rigs. However, really just a few words, the rigs, you expand, it goes on and on. Like that, we have that great capacity of blessing, of benedictions, which we have received through the age. From the time the sun rose on civilization till the time the sun sets on civilization, dear God, this culture, this civilization, this philosophy, this religion, this way of life has to exist for the good of the human being. Coming to the Indian civilization as such and to the education aspects, I remember and remind myself that I am facing at least quite a good many of you who are scholars, academicians, who know very much more than I can ever hope to aspire. I have to thank first the young lady who introduced me in very glowing terms. Please take it all with a pinch of salt or a sack of salt, whatever is your preference. I'm just an ordinary BA, economics BA by compulsion or force of circumstances. I never wanted to take economics, I wanted English. Anyway, we won't go into all that now. That is not a part of our program. Education, perhaps, in my very limited concept, can be divided into 4 categories. First level is education itself. Whether it is from the primary or pre-primary stage to a doctorate or post-doctorate, it all comes within that one definition, education. Then comes knowledge. Then comes wisdom. Then comes enlightenment. For the 3 others, whether it is a knowledge or wisdom or enlightenment, unless you're super human being, you would definitely need the guidance and blessings of the Guru. After all, the term Guru itself is self-explanatory. When the 2 verb roots of Ga and Ra, Ga, which is Andhakara Bijam, and Ra or Rebham, which is Agni Bijam, when they combine together, when Ga and Ra combine together, the term Guru you get. When Andhakara Bijam and Agni Bijam combine together, obviously, necessarily, imperatively, darkness has to retreat in the luminosity of the Agni. So he who brings, who removes the darkness of unenlightenment and brings in the light of enlightenment is Guru. It is a very heavy term. It is these days, unfortunately, used with almost flippancy. If somebody teaches you 2 days music, he becomes your music guru. He can't be a music guru. A tutor takes a tuition, he becomes a guru. No. They are all adhyapakans and adhyapikas. Guru comes to a totally different level of perception and experience. Totally different. Anyway, here in Bharat, Mahabharata, we had a lot of options for all the 4. And our universities of Nalanda and Takshashila, all coming to the Shalas of Kerala, including Kandalur Shala, Parthivapuram Shala, Chalakudi Shala, Tiruvalla Shala, Brahmaswamadam, which is still operational, the only one which is still operational, and there is 1 or 2 more, I slipped my mind. They were all seats of learning, which leads you just not to academics, but to much greater things, which are of benefit not just to you, but to everyone. Not just to humans, but to animals, to plants, to insects, to birds, everything. We never believe that we are the only super production and all the others were made for our convenience. We never believe that for us to reach a higher level of elevation, we have to read 1 book. We have to call God by 1 name alone to reach it. No. For us, it is a hugely expansive perspective. Akashalpadidam toyam yatha gacchati sagaram sarvadeva namaskar keshavam pradigacchati. Like different streams having their sources from different places, O Lord, mingle their waters in the sea. So different paths men take, varied or straight, all lead to thee. That is our perception. That is our belief. And that should be our way of thinking in the present also. Our contributions have been very, very weighty in the world scenario. And since my time, I think, is 10 minutes, and I'm almost sure I have reached about 8 minutes. Yes, my daughter says 8 minutes. Yes. 8 minutes are already over. So that's also good for me. So I will just mention the spheres, and without going into expansion, where our Indian culture has made its incomparable, unparalleled contributions to the cosmos or cosmic scenario. I will, as one gets older, one's memory is not all that good. So I shall borrow from my own book, which Padmanabha Swami has blessed me to write. It is The Mighty Indian Experience. I'm borrowing from it alone. I'm not going to anything else. Somebody may say, oh, what ego? It's not ego, it's only convenience. It should be a fairly easy book, but it is not. I had dedicated it with all love to my only grandson, Vishnu, my only grandson. When he was very small, I dedicated this to him. Of course, it would have been far above him at that time. Now, I'm just reading out the contents, and these contents will give you a very brief idea. As we all know, we cannot condense, compress, concise something which cannot be done. The Indian culture is so vast, like the unbound skies or the unfathomed seas. So this is just a very, I don't know, ambitious or whatever it is. I don't know what adjective to use. I will just read out the contents by which you will get an idea of it. You already have, you don't need any idea from me, but still. I have already told you about our great Indian heritage and how we have been. Only the first paragraph of the book I will read. Incomparable and splendorous, the grand heritage of India, soars high on the wings of unspecified ages, to reach the zenith on the graph of man's imposing history, even as it cascades radiance in uninterrupted flow down the centuries dusty with the tread of time. If I may be so presumptuous as to rename it, I would address Indian heritage as the mighty Indian experience. The subject being as vast as the unbound skies, as deep as unfathomed seas, and as old as the dawn of civilization, it is next to impossible to do any real justice to it within a restricted space. Hence, only a presentation in compromise as an introduction of sorts is being attempted here with a supplication that lapses may be kindly condoned. I will just read the contents. First is glance at Indian heritage, and the chapter 2 is India's influence on foreign lands, trade, commerce, and navigation. 3, literature, Sanskrit, mother of all languages, as Bill Durham had said. Chapter 4, the arts, active arts, music, dance, drama, static arts, architecture, sculpture, and other arts. Active arts are music, dance, and drama. Static arts are architecture, sculpture, painting, and so many other arts which cannot move, they are static. Chapter 5, the sciences. Originally, I thought I should speak on the science, focusing on the sciences. But after I heard the Honorable Vice Chancellor talk, I had a quick rearrangement of my thinking process and decided to make it a little easier for myself and for you. Chapter 5, the sciences. Precise science, astronomy, abstract science, astrology, applied science, mathematics, pure science, physics, metallurgy, chemistry. Chapter 6, the scripture of life, Ayurveda, the Veda of eyes. Chapter 7, Law and Administration. Chapter 8, Education. Chapter 9, Systems of Defense. Chapter 10, maybe the most heavy, the heaviest of the whole lot. Chapter 10, Spirituality and Philosophy. Chapter 11, it's the condensation of the whole thing, sort of a peloton of the whole thing is given, the living legacy. Our Indian culture, our Sanatana Dharma is the living legacy which has been bestowed on us, you, and me. It's a great, great blessing for which we must be eternally grateful. And when we talk of what we do not have, when we look and lament, let us be grateful for what we have. Let us not look up, let us look down, and then we will realize how fortunate we have been, how blessed we have been. Even you, who are members of this mighty university family, whether it be the faculty, the teaching staff, the non-teaching staff, and of course, most important, the students, how fortunate you are to have been bound together in such a faculty, in such an orbit, under the inspiration and blessings of that great, great, great sage, the great, great personality, the Guru, Chinmaya Swami. Chinmaya Swami used to often say, he was a visitor here very often. How many times we have seen him here? He was gracious enough to visit. And he used to often say, do not call me a guru. I'm only a man who propagates Gita and Sanatana. Like that, so many great people, whether it's Vivekananda, whether it's Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, whether it's Yogananda Swami, or coming to Kerala, or so many from Shankaracharya Swami onwards, so many great, great, great spiritual giants. India is full of them, so rich. People who are even today living, like Amrandamai and all that, people who are living, Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. There are people who have passed on to their bigger destinies, but so many of them are there. And they show, they beacon the light of radiance for us to follow the best we can. I'm very happy. Again, once again, I'm repeating myself. Very happy to be present in this very great function. But I certainly hope, I honestly certainly hope that it would be not like this. It should be one-to-one. This is only because of your COVID, or my COVID, or the world's COVID, the pandemic. That should go, and we should all move, interact, one-to-one, face-to-face, man-to-man, woman-to-woman, whatever you would like to, not through such devices. I honestly don't find it exciting. I find it very depressing. Sorry, sir, but honestly, and I really hope that it will come soon, that once again the world settles down, at least in compromise to normalcy. I think all this must have perhaps come that we may get a lesson, we may learn a lesson, and we may be given a chance to become better human beings. That we may realize that we are not the captains of our souls. We are not the arbiters of our destiny. It is somebody, some power much, 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 much above us, around us, and within us. I wish you all the very best with the blessings of God and Guruji, and may well-being come to all on earth. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Shanti, shanti, shanti. Shri Padmanabha